Hi, everybody, and welcome to a new episode of Soul Meets Heart, the podcast for your soul. My next guest today has spent nearly 30 years standing in the space between two worlds, the one that we can see and the one that we can only feel. She's a spiritual medium, meditation teacher, and an author based in Port St. Lucie, Florida. Her
Yes.
own journey into this work didn't start with curiosity, it actually started with grief. The loss of her father and her mother in a moment so layered with mystery that the details actually gave me a little bit of chills when I read into them.
Mm.
She's gone on to help hundreds of families find language for the unexplainable, even pioneering a kind of reading where she connects multiple grieving family members in different states to the same loved one at the same time. And she's certified through one of the most respected names in mediumship. She's written a book on raising your spiritual vibration, and she has strong, unapologetic things to say about grief, mental health, and the difference between numbing pain and healing it. So pleased to welcome to Soul Meets Heart, Beth. Thank you, Beth, for being here today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Of course. So, first off, I want to start off by saying thank you for what you're doing for the world. It's always nice to meet a light worker and seeing someone or meeting someone who is providing light for people when they go through darkness. So, just wanted to thank you for that. So, we actually have a couple traditions that we start off our podcast with. Super easy, I promise. The first one that we do is a quick little meditation to help us get grounded and present for this conversation. So, really quickly together, I want you to breathe in love, think of all the things you love, 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 and then exhale gratitude. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for everything. And take that deep breath and that moment to get yourself grounded. And that's tradition number one. Tradition number two on the podcast is we actually have our guests leave a positive message for the next guest without knowing who it's going to be for or what they specialize or do. So the message that our last guest left you, I hope it lands. If it doesn't, I hope it lands for any of the listeners out there today. This message here is for you. To thine own self be true and trust yourself.
I like it. I accept that. I like
Awesome. Yeah, very quick and simple. We have variations of people who leave longer messages, shorter messages. I will be asking you to leave a message for our next guest after the podcast is done.
Okay.
But thank you for being here. So let's get started. I've read that you've said that you heard your mother's voice the moment she passed. And later, this is the part that like I was reading on and gave me chills. Later, that you later learned that a train had crashed at the same instant. Can you walk me through that morning? What did that voice sound like? How did you tell the difference between something playing tricks on you or something real?
That's such a good question. So we just have to reverse it a little bit. I woke from a dream at 3:15 a.m. and I can still see the digits on the clock like when I looked at it. In the dream, I was hearing over an intercom system, which is what it sounded like to me in my dream, that she had died. I heard her name, her last name, Mrs. Ferrano, is dead. I could see gray walls and people running like this. And then my eyes opened and I looked at the clock and I saw the time, 3:15 a.m. And I went, wow, what kind of dream was that? And I was very shook up. I started screaming in the dream and I realized that I was like that emotional. Went back to sleep somehow. I don't know how. And I woke up early in the morning. I had my little nephew. I was taking him off to pre-K and it was 7 a.m. So were just getting to the scene because there were no roads. It was in a bayou. And
I'm
I was
really
like,
sorry, Beth. I'm really sorry, but I lost you for like, I want to say 40 seconds. So if you can
mm-hmm.
go back to what you were answering and maybe cover the last 40 seconds if you can.
Okay. So
That was,
did you hear when
yeah.
I woke from the dream?
I heard when you woke from the dream. Maybe we can start there.
Okay. So I woke from the dream. And like I said, it seemed like people were running back and forth, gray walls that stood out very clearly. And I
Yeah.
heard over an intercom system that she was dead. Her name, and she was dead. And I woke up very shook up. And when I woke, I looked at the clock and saw the time. It was 3:15 a.m. And I went, wow, what kind of dream was that? like, whoa, my God, I was very, very upset, like very anxious feeling. But I went back to sleep somehow. And then I woke up early in the morning. I had my little nephew, I was getting him off to pre-K, and I turned on the car radio and I hear about the train accident in the middle of the night. The
Mm.
Amtrak had crashed, and I knew she was traveling on that train. And I'm like, God, oh my God, my dream. Now I remember my dream because I was getting the little guy off to school and not my normal routine. I was a little, I didn't really think about it. So I got him off, dropped him off, and then I heard when I dropped him off, that's when I heard her voice say, Beth, I'm all right. I'm happy. And in that moment, I actually felt like I plopped back in my seat. I remember looking in the back seat of the car thinking, what was that? How did I hear her? That was her voice. And it's interesting that it echoes like in your head a little bit. Like that's something I remember like inside my head. Like, and I was a hairdresser then. I was not doing, understanding spiritual principles and energy and frequencies. And that's really what it does come down to that in the bigger picture. So I was very shook up. I actually stopped at the train station that happened to be between my sister's house and where I was going. And I went in and said, my mom was on the train. Is there more than one train? And they said, well, they gave me a phone number. I think that answered that. But then, we just had to go
Mm.
through like everybody else. But that was the dream I had that woke me. And that was at 3:15. And the accident, I remember when we got a lot of paperwork on it. I believe it said the train actually went off the tracks. They said 3:12 a.m. And that always is a little 3-minute window that I wonder, but it was so close that, it is what it is. But I woke up and it was 3:15 a.m. Yeah. I can still see the digits. When you go through something, you have an emotional kind of a shock. And it's kind of like just tapping into PTSD a little bit. What I've learned through energy is there's a shock that happens and your emotions go, meh, and they hold there. And when you're healing, though, you have to lift your frequency because that stays in the frequency of the shock. And something like that, I wouldn't call it shock anymore, but I can still see the digits and I can still feel the emotion. I don't go into post trauma with it like I used to, but, it was definitely something that used to, if I saw that on the clock or, you know, saw a train track, my husband used to have to turn around. I couldn't sit at a train track and watch a train. Could not.
Yeah, I can't imagine that.
But here I sit, 30 years later doing what she said I would do.
Yeah.
Getting a hot
You
flash.
so that same voice came back maybe years later, I think during your son's birth,
Mm.
telling you to push when doctors were prepping for a C-section.
Mm-hmm.
Did you hesitate at all to trust it in that moment with a doctor in the room and the medical?
I knew when he said we're going to do a C-section, I said, "Oh, okay." Now this voice was the same voice I heard in the car. The
Mhm.
voice that I heard over the intercom system in the initial dream
Yeah.
was a deeper voice. Um, I don't know, like I would say maybe just energetically, I got in that. I was always very intuitive. It was, I was known to know things and, it was more of a joke. I mean, intuition. And I always felt a little odd, put it that way. But I never, it didn't change my life. I mean, I don't know. It just was something I could feel and see. And I always would wonder why I could feel so many things and not other people don't seem to think about that. But the voice I heard when I was giving birth was clearly my mother's voice. And the doctor said they were going to prep me for a C-section. And I said, oh, okay. It wasn't no hard labor or anything. I was just doing the pushy push thing. It was nothing traumatic about it. And I only had one, so I had nothing to compare it to. And then he said that, and I heard in my ear, like it was like here, it was like, no, Beth, he's coming vaginal. He's coming now, push. And I went to the doctor, oh no, he's coming now. And the doctor goes, no, Beth, really, really. And I went, I heard push again and I pushed and the doctor went, whoa. And I remember they put him on me, but they took him right off. And I went, seems a little longer on TV. Like I was like not in no trauma. I mean, like that seems a
Yeah.
lot longer on TV. And my sister's like, are you okay? Kind of holding over here, keeping my attention here. Little did I know when he came out, he was blue already.
Oh,
So
wow.
something was going on. And I
Mhm,
remember, it was funny. I was telling this story to somebody today. I was teaching a class to. We were talking about childbirth, and it came up. And I said, I was watching a show a few months after that, and the girl was giving birth, and I had just given birth a few months ago. So I'm like watching, going, what's this? This is interesting. I went through that not long ago. I'm kind of watching, and then I hear, oh, we're going to do a C-section, and she goes, oh, okay. And they had a clock on the screen of the TV, and I
mhm,
remember noticing the time that he said we're going to do the C-section, and then noticing how many minutes went by. And I had this overwhelming emotional knowing that he wouldn't have made those minutes.
mhm.
He's a son. I knew it. I watched it. I literally cried because it made me know he wouldn't have made it. I knew it.
Wow.
But blessings and thanks, Mom. Push, Beth. He's coming now. He's
Yeah,
Woo, those are stories, and I got a lot of them, but that was very profound for me is, just knowing, because when your mom, can't be there for you in so many things, she's been gone 33 years, I think now, 34.
wow.
Yeah, and then like she crossed in 93. Me and my husband were engaged, and we got
Mm,
married in April of 94. But, another weird thing, my mother-in-law had submitted our engagement announcement. And guess what? The day of the accident, my mother's headlines were all over the front page of my little small town USA, because my mom was from there. So it
yeah.
became, big news in my area. And my engagement picture was on the inside of the paper. Like, what are the odds of that?
Wow, same
Yeah.
news cycle.
Yeah, yeah,
Wow,
and, my mother-in-law submitted that, like, a couple weeks before, because that's what you
right.
do, and then it gets in when it gets in. Yeah, but that was a weird, that's what I called weird, but, not too many things seem weird to me. That felt weird. That one I was like, "Really?"
Yeah,
But it's part of life.
yeah, yeah. So, Beth, you went through a blind certification reading, with was it Mark Ireland's program?
Yeah, Mark Ireland.
No name, no background, just a Zoom link.
Mhm.
What's it like to do this work with 0 context, maybe compared to a normal session where you at least know who you're talking
You
to?
know that they're coming for a certain reason. Well, I had been doing the work already a good maybe 20, cheers at that point. 20, I was doing it for a while. And when I did that, it really to me doesn't make any difference, because most of the people that come to me, I'm meeting for the first time. I have people in all different area codes around, so countries. So it's really doesn't make a difference for me. Even if someone's coming to me to channel, I don't know. I don't know sometimes who they are. Or, I never know who they are half the time. I mean, I have a lot of repeat clients in 30 years. People who come
Sure.
to me for support, or someone else passes. 10 years ago, and they book, and then somebody else has passed away. So it really doesn't
Mm,
make a difference. That doesn't make
okay.
a difference. But they test us, because when Mark tests us, we're connecting into a group called Helping Parents Heal. And they're a very special group of people who have all lost children. The founders had lost their children, and that's how they got together. And now it's worldwide. And Helping
Mm,
Parents Heal is an amazing group of humans and parents.
yeah,
And so I donate time like other mediums. There's not, I don't know, maybe 20 mediums or so that I think they work with, and that donate time to do galleries for them online and things like that. So it's a special group of. I'm grateful to be connected to them.
yeah, and
Sadly,
that's a
have to be, but for that reason, But yeah,
yeah, but it's a wonderful thing that you guys are all doing
yeah.
to at least help the grieving
Hmm.
folks. You're known for doing a three-way, even four-way simultaneous readings, connecting you to multiple family members in different cities at
Yeah.
once, all tuning into the same person in spirit. Technically, how does that even work? Is it harder to like hold the line with more people, or does the collective grief kind of make that connection stronger?
I think the collectiveness, what you learn, and what I've learned in the last 30 years, plus years now, the connection to spirit is so, it's like an antenna or something, I guess is the word I want to use. And so when you got family members that are in different places and they all want to be on the same call, they lose a sibling, they lose a parent, there's going to be closeness, and they all zoom in from different places. The energy, I always thank Mr. Nikola Tesla because I think he explains it even in his quote, which I don't know if that's what he was thinking about when he had that quote, that it would be for channeling the spirit world and mediumship. But if you want to understand the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, vibration, and frequency. And your spiritual energy is your highest frequency and consciousness, we have to know ourselves really in some way, shape, or form, whether it's traditional science, it's all energy. And so this, when your loved ones are going to tune in, they're watching over all of you. And you might find this interesting, and I kind of think it ties into the question. They have shown me that if we look in a little snow globe, right, and we see a whole little village,
Yeah.
Christmas time, we see a lot of that. And you look at, and you can see the whole village, you're looking in the little snow globe, shaking it, right? But so when they look down, it's like a sphere of energy. And in this sphere, this globe, everyone who they would love and watch over is in, no matter where they live in the world physically. All right.
Mm.
So that's how they can keep that view. I find it easy to grasp. I don't know if you find that easy to grasp, but it's like the easiest way the spirit world has shown me. This is how we can see, my dad here or my brother over there and da da da. So I'm a curious medium, by the way. I've asked them questions. How does that work? I have always
Yeah.
gotten an answer, and it is nothing that this little brain could have ever figured out. Thank you, brain. I'm glad you're still working, but it wouldn't have figured that out. And so I feel, that they've made it. So that's how they all tune in. So we're all on one wavelength, like me and you are on one wavelength.
Yeah.
Same thing, right?
I actually like that snow globe
Yeah, I love it.
metaphor. That's
It
really cool.
it makes you get the visual. We're
Yeah.
human. We want the visual. We want the yes, tangible. But that's how they've shown me to explain it to loved ones who don't understand, because sometimes you got, families who are in different places, but how do they watch me and see them too, Yeah. And that's how they explain it.
Interesting.
Hmm.
So you open sessions with an intention blessing?
Just like you did today. I loved it. And,
Thank
we went
you.
through a little to get this to happen, so I needed to ground a little. Um, and yeah, and I
A
always do a little blessing, light of the heart, and I
and
prepare.
and you ask parents to request something specific
I
from
tell
their
them they can. I say, if you want
okay.
to think of something for your loved one to show you somewhere during the session, just put it out there to them quietly. And I tell them you can do it in the meditation or you can do it anytime. They might think of something 20 minutes in. I said, just send it to them quietly, you know?
Yeah. I'm thinking like maybe parents use this as an opportunity to see if there's like a way to prove
Yeah.
that
Oh, they do.
you're doing what you're doing. And my specific question is,
Mhm.
has there ever been a spirit that's ever delivered something so oddly specific that maybe it even surprised you?
Well, I can tell you, two came to mind, but one was just not even 2 weeks ago, maybe last week. And it was a very touching story of the woman and gentleman came, and they told me they were brother and sister. And I start getting going, and there's a little boy in the room. So it ended up being that he was their nephew. They were brother and sister. It was their nephew. And she ended up at the end telling me that her sister, well, in the beginning, I kept hearing, Mom, Mom, like, Mom, say Mom, say Mom. And she says, well, I don't have anyone that would call me Mom up there. I said, that's an awful strong Mom, Mom, say Mom. And I got this young little man, and then I got her dad, I believe, was next to the young man. And he was only 5. I don't know if I said that. So we're going along, and she knows they know it's him, but it was still hard because it's a child. And all of a sudden, well, she said to me, I have something in my purse. Do you want to hold it? And I said, no, that's psychometry. I'm going to listen to them the whole time. So as we're going along, I would say that they were very emotional, very emotional. So they knew the things I was giving them were things that made sense. There was no way to deny that, I don't think, or they probably would have let me know. But
Sure.
at one point, I said quietly in my mind, show me what's in the purse, little man. because I knew I was talking to the child at that point. I said it real quick, show me what's in the purse. And immediately I saw. So I said to her, okay, I want to show you this. I just asked him what's in that purse. He answered, hand, hand, hand. That's say hand, Beth, like basically. She reaches in the purse. She didn't say a word. When what she took out was this little hand. It seemed almost like a rubber that his mother had made of his hand when he was ill. He was sick. He had a brain thing.
Oh
And
man.
they could actually put their hands in there and hold his hand.
Oh wow.
I even cried. Like I got emotional. Not I was like, "Oh my goodness." I go, "Look." We all teared up. I mean, come on. So this little boy heard me clearly because they do hear you. And everything that they send in a channeling is the things that you know. They don't send you things you don't know. They're not sitting up there knowing all of our futures. My God, what would we call that? I call it heaven. You can call it whatever you want. The other side, the light, the heavens, 12th dimension. There's all kinds of names. Keep it simple, I always say. But that little boy answered that. And I remember another, well, there was a cute one the other day. This was a little on the cuter side, even though her son was in spirit. He was in his 20s. And we were channeling away. And she was very, we were having a nice experience. She knew it was her son. And I go, he's saying the owl. Tell her the owl. I'm next to the owl. And I go, and she was sitting near a window with a lot of trees behind her. And I go, I don't know if you hear an owl or if you got an owl out in your backyard, but he wants me to say he's near the owl. And she turns around and she goes, no. And she reaches up and it was his urn with an owl on it. So, that was one of the more lighthearted things. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
but he said he was right next to it and he was like really right under it. So, but he made her laugh. And that's something, people, when your loved one in spirit has a sense of humor, they want to bring their humor. They want to bring themselves. I tell people, if I don't get a name, I'm not trying to get their name. I could tell you that, but I want to get their personality. So if they F-bomb, if they say whatever, you're going to hear exactly. And that's one thing I get a lot of. Oh my God, you're saying it just like they would. I go, because I don't filter it. Why should I filter what they want me to tell you? I ask a little man, show me what's in that purse. To be honest with you, I didn't know if I'd get anything or an answer that fat, but to go boom, boom, boom. I didn't even know what that meant. But boy,
Yeah.
I'll tell you, within 2 seconds, I knew. So that was a special thing. And that's what I tell people. They're coming through you the same way. They're giving you signs and symbols too. The more you
Uh-huh.
trust it, the more you make it easier on them to give that to you,
Mm.
you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Going back to helping parents heal, I think you've actually worked with their UK chapter as well.
Yeah.
Is there a difference between like British families and American families culturally, maybe emotionally, and how people let themselves feel things?
Not when they're going through grief. I think grief is a universal emotion that brings
Hmm.
a lot of people together.
Yeah.
It's an interesting question. I've never looked at it that way. I've never thought I've done Australia, UK, and then there's states, different states that I've worked with. They have their chapters and they can invite you to.
Yeah.
And I would say that grief is probably it's the same once they start showing things and they know, and that shouldn't take long. If I was to say if I was working with somebody it's a little hard. They need proof. They need it so bad. I understand what that's like. I've sat when I went to a medium a year after my mom passed. Me and my sister went last minute. Somebody said, listen, I have an appointment with a medium. I can't go. You and your sister should just go. We took the set. We went. We showed up. And she didn't know our names or anything. And I remember we sat down and she's like, your mother's like, she did a little blessing. She goes, your mother said it was like crossing a bridge and taking a breath. She didn't know our mother died on the train. So that's symbolism, metaphor is symbolism. The soul speaks in that language constantly. So we were like, here we are, like ready to fall off our chairs because she has no idea our mother was literally crossing a bridge. You know what I mean? And, but I was sitting there at one point and she looked at me and she said, young lady, you're not using your gifts and abilities. Your mother says you are going to do what I do someday and help many people. And I'm sitting there thinking, this lady's crazy. That's what I'm thinking in my head. But I was, grieving. I wanted her to be there, but I had that. She's crazy. I can't do that. And then
Yeah.
she proceeded to say some things, and she'll guide you to your books and teachers, and she did. And then she started talking to my sister, and I remember thinking in my head, Mom, if you're really here, give me a sign. I'm like, yeah, I was a human. I always say that. I was a human then for sure when it came to this. And I'm like, just give me a sign. And I started to watch her go like this, my wrist, my arm. And she'd say something more, and she'd go, my arm just feels like it's being constricted. And when she said that, I went, in my head, it's you. And she went, ah, well, that's better. That was weird. And my mom was a phlebotomist. She used to wrap that rubber band around our arms and tighten it and check our blood to make sure, we didn't have mono or something worse than a cold. I mean, she always took that stupid rubber band and put it on our arms, and it used to hurt. So that's what the lady was doing. My mom was showing me. I was like,
Wow.
I know. How can you not laugh at that, right? And that's when I knew. I was like, oh my God. I think I told her afterwards, I'm sorry. I think that was my fault. She goes, well, they hear you, see? And that was where it all really, after that session, I got really curious. Literally, did I know that, getting into meditation and things like that, and even tarot cards. I started taking tarot classes with this beautiful woman, astrologer, Elizabeth. She's
Mhm.
probably getting the signal right now. I'm talking about her again. And I just went because she had an ad in a little metaphysical magazine. I went a week later after that. I went into the crystal shop, and there was this little pamphlet. And she taught tarot. And I thought, well, I don't know. I'm intrigued by that. I want to go do that. I went. And the very first thing she said to me when I went to her home was, I bet you didn't know tarot was a spiritual. And I said, no, I was actually worried maybe I was doing something I shouldn't. And she goes, oh, no, dear, it's all how you read it. She goes, you're not going to tell their future. Well, unless you do see something, then you will tell them. But most of the time, it's just to help. And
Yeah.
she taught me how to read that way. And I didn't know I was opening that third eye up front and center at that point, because it is the sixth sense, the third eye that sees above and beyond the physical world.
Yeah.
That's what the third eye is.
I want to talk a little bit about healing and how I know, I think you've said something about over medicating being a major topic many people fear to discuss, and that you see it as a spiritual issue and not just a clinical one.
Mhm.
Where's the line for you between supporting someone through medication and feeling like it's muting the signals or the things that they need to heal?
Very sensitive subject. Where my understanding comes in, first of all, if it's helping you, if you're taking something and you're not in the depths of depression, you're functioning, you're creative, you're keeping your physical world in a roof over your head, food on your table, if I will, the basics anyway.
Sure.
And you're happy, it's working for you. But what's happening, according to what I experienced when I was 28 years old, which was long before I was actually really understanding everything that's going on now. So I was 28, trying to figure out my life, living in LA, and I woke up one morning and I was trying to make decisions. Do I move back to the East Coast? And I woke up and I couldn't breathe. So I had to go to the ER. Couldn't catch my breath. So I went to the ER. They put a pill on my tongue, calmed me down, and took blood tests and all the stuff. Anything else is in there? No, nothing else is in there. And then gave me a prescription, and they said just take one in the morning, one at bedtime. You already have one in you today. That's what we gave you. It calmed you down. And they're like, you can go to your doctor and get more. And I'm like, well, I don't even go to the doctor. Like, I'm like, wait a minute. Well, what's it going to do? Well, my feeling was I was so scared that I would hyperventilate again. So I thought in my head, I'll do the 5 days worth that they gave me. Okay.
Hmm.
That's what I'll do because I don't want to hyperventilate again. And
Sure.
then, so that night I took it at bedtime, and I remember I felt weird, a little off, but I fell asleep. I woke up in the morning, took it again like a good girl, and within 15 minutes felt weird, felt disoriented, felt like my hands weren't even on my body. And I remember that. And so I said, well, threw that away, called the movers, made plans to move in about a week. You know what I mean? I'm getting out of Dodge, right? Getting out of
Yeah.
the wild, wild west. But 24 hours later, so I've only got 3 in my system. I haven't taken it in 24 hours. Never abruptly stop. Anyone listening to this ever. And I started to feel weird again, not hyperventilating. I felt off. I felt a little my hands again. It was the weirdest feeling to feel my hands not on my body. And it was like an awareness, like, what's up? And it was happening very fast. It was like a 40-second episode. And all of a
Mm.
sudden, I saw myself walk by. Like I looked like a hologram. And I'm looking and I'm like, what the? And then I heard a voice, not a nice voice, yell in my ear, literally, to get my, I don't know how far much I can say, but get my,
You can say it
all right,
open.
get my gun, get your gun and blow your head off. And it yelled at me. And I went, what the hell was that? And it yelled again. Now this time it screamed, get your gun. I had one in my closet. I used to go shooting. It screamed so loud that I called my friend. I said, get down here and get my gun out of my apartment. And within 40 seconds, she was at my house. When she ran in, she screamed, what's going on? And she said, she looked at me. I was ghost white. My eyes looked black. And I was literally hanging onto my couch like this, like death grip. Because I remember going, and my hands were like that. And I went, like I snapped out of something. And she goes, what's going on? And I felt like I was floating to the closet. That's what I felt like. Like I was just going like this. My eyes were locked on it and I was floating. So now she goes, what happened when you went to ER? And she goes, are you okay? And she goes, my God, you look, I don't know. I feel so weird and something screaming in my head to blow my head. Nothing's that bad. I mean, I don't know what, I've never had those thoughts. So she goes to the basket and she takes it out of the bathroom because I told her I threw it away. I didn't like how it made me feel. I haven't taken it since yesterday. And she says, it's Zoloft. I go, well, what's Zoloft? She goes, well, you can't just stop taking it. I go, well, what is it? And she goes, it's an anxiety medicine. And I go, well, what's anxiety? I didn't even know what I was having. Okay. This is how naive I was. So this is 38 years ago. So now all that takes place. To this day, that girl will cry when we talk about it. By the way, we're still friends. She will
Oh wow.
cry because she said the way that I looked. Now, what I didn't understand, Hugo, I did not understand energy. I did not understand the spirit in the higher self in the, all this stuff that, the terminology. I did not get that then. I was still a hairdresser. You know what I mean? I put that away. Okay. I let her take the gun. I had to do what you want with that medicine because I ain't taking it again. And I was okay. I was okay.
Yeah.
She stayed with me though. She did stay with me. I think she didn't want to, but I felt like I was okay. I just went. So 15 years later, I'm talking 15 years maybe, my incident with my mom, my dad, when my dad passed away, I felt I was going to die. I was actually going to go talk to a priest because that was my traditional upbringing. And I hadn't been in a church in years, but I was going to go talk to my dad. And I always prayed. I've always prayed. I've always had a connection with Jesus. I mean, I'm a very, I've always been comfortable with that, in my terms are more loosely with him, not like Buddha too. I like me some Buddha too. I don't know what I am, but I like it all, so whatever.
There's
So
a name for that. It's called omnism.
what is it called?
Omnism. You kind of just respect every religion or
Omnism.
theology.
That is me. I am omnistic. So that I started, now I'm well into the mediumship. I'm doing my thing. And I started getting, and I swear I'm answering your question. I started getting these people that would come in, young people always at that time. Now it's all ages. And they would show me a flat line. They would show me a Picasso painting. And they would show me a prescription bottle or pad. And it all of a sudden became very clear after a few months of this, if not maybe a little longer, I was getting I was getting suicides. Okay. Now, but every single time it was a prescription. I still didn't put it together with my experience. Never did.
Mm.
It took a good 6 months. But I started getting more people because people like in grief groups who lost kids the same way, now they're searching me out. So I started getting a very big that. And so when one day I was channeling, well, I didn't understand what the Picasso meant, but I ended up finding out that when Picasso started doing his abstract art, he was under treatment.
Mm.
But what was interesting when I realized, why are you showing me Picasso's? Because I will ask things in my inner mind, and I always get an answer. I think everybody will if they ask. I started seeing I would look at it and go like, well, eyes, nose, ears, mouth, and you look at it, or they would look at it and they're like, I don't understand. What is that? I can't put it together. And the flat line is the flat, it's like death. It's like, it's numb.
Sure.
Right? And then the prescription. So it was putting it all together, but I just didn't know how to put that together until I really asked. And one day I was working with a mom. Her son gave me those things. He showed me 3 weeks. He'd been on the medicine 1 week. They called. They told the doctor he didn't like how he felt. He felt weird. Weird was the word. He
Mhm.
watched himself. Mom, I watched myself. You were helping me. It wasn't your fault. He was put on the anxiety med, same one, because she told me that. Because after that, when it started coming out, he said he heard voices. And now he's telling me this from the spirit world. And I'm
Yeah.
telling her, and she's crying, but she's feeling relieved. I said, why? He's saying 8 minutes, 8 minutes. She said, he called me and said, Mom, I feel weird. He wasn't saying he wanted to die. He wasn't wanting to take his life. That was not the wording, just like with me, it was not my wording. I didn't feel that way. I was just felt weird.
Yeah.
And she said, I got there and I told him on the phone, I will be there in less than 8 minutes. And he said, okay, Mom. And he said, I love you. He didn't say, I want to die. And when she got there, he was already there, gone. Yeah.
Oh,
So that was the session that made me go, wait a minute. He watched himself? The voices made him do it? That's now I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. My whole experience floods back to me. Everything. And I'm like, wait a minute. I went through this. And that's when I said on a Zoloft. And she said, that's what he was on. So we talked. I told her my experience. We hugged. She goes, at least I know I didn't miss something. How did I miss anything? Like if I
yeah.
had passed, people would still be saying, why didn't she tell someone she was depressed? Well, because I wasn't. That's why. I mean,
Yeah.
frustration is not, I know I'm laughing, but it's so not funny. And I realized that. So what is happening? These medications are dropping the frequency of the energy field. Our energy field is our aura. All right. Our aura. All right. When our energy field connects into our endocrine system, our nervous system, powerful mind, body, spirit, all that. That's a whole nother show.
Yeah.
But when the body hits a certain frequency, the spirit leaves. The energy field separates, right? Hey, my hologram was my spirit. I saw it. Now, I didn't know that at the time. Now it's all making sense. When we
Mm.
do not have a connection to our spirit, when we die, our spirit leaves, right? But when we are a living being and we are functioning, and we do not have a connection to that source, that divine energy, call it what you want, higher frequency, well, you can't be disconnected. It's our source. So you will get depressed. You will go into all kinds of distorted reality. That's just a natural thing. Schizophrenia is a separation. Okay.
Mm.
That's science or what medical or whatever word. So when it all came together and I realized what happened to me and to all these people. I mean, that's where the line is, I guess, that these medications are dropping our frequencies so low and we separate. And there are people who can function in that separation. They're not functioning happily. That's what I call the more pharmaceutical induced depression, pharmaceutical induced suicide, because it's pharmaceutically induced chemically. Basically, it
Mhm.
is a chemical thing and it's happening, but it's also affecting the energy field, which is the spiritual system. So that's when it becomes a spiritual issue. Now, now I'm mad. Now I'm mad because I get what's happening and I've been talking about it for 28 years and I know what I'm talking about and I feel it because I've seen it so many times and I've experienced the voices. I know what it's like to hear a voice do that without any intention of ever wanting to do that. So, and I know how close I could have easily not been here. So that's
Yeah.
why I'm very passionate. And I stay in the lane of, spiritual wellness and understanding when you understand. So when you're functioning, if you're functioning on these meds and you're happy, this is not for you. But according to the spirit world, 2% of the people on it need it. The other 98% are people like myself or people
Mm.
functioning in a lower frequency. And, we've learned to suppress, we've been brainwashed, I think, to suppress emotion. And that's what these medications do. They put you in I can't watch that TV show, The Living Dead. Are you kidding? That's what it looks like to me. That's the first thing I thought of when I saw all that. Like, and when you think
Yeah.
of addiction and its worst thing, there's chemicals in these drugs and they're causing a separation. And, it's I don't know. So sad. That night after that lady left my room, I prayed and I said, what do I do with this information? I know what's happening.
Yeah.
I get it. And do you know, it came as clear as day in a voice. Like I'm saying, voices are real. Robin Williams talked about the voices. He talked about the higher power voice and the lower power voice that used to tell him to do bad things. I read an interview on him about wanting to fall over because I knew the voice, the lower power voice. I've heard it. But I remember praying and asking, what do I do with this information? And do you know what I heard? And I can hear it like I could probably recite it backwards. I heard, please don't stop talking about it. So many more are coming this way. It will take down the species before any war.
Wow.
And when you look at the mental health of our species in the last, how many years? 20, 30 years? It ain't going up.
Yeah.
And what are we seeing?
A lot of people with mental health issues.
Yeah, not that many people are born mentally ill,
No. No.
challenged. I like the word challenged better than ill. Um, They're not. This is induced. It's
Mm.
scary.
Yeah. In your book, Soul Rising, you connect the idea of raising your vibration to actual science. What's the most because of this conversation, it's leading me to like want to talk about what's the most convincing piece of science you've found that backs up something that you've experienced spiritually?
You better hang on for this one, buddy. All right. So, one thing, I did re edit the book and change the title because people were, I don't know. I changed the title, even though I love Soul Rising. Maybe I wished I didn't sometimes, but I did change it just in case people look for Soul Rising.
Oh,
It's
okay.
life, death, and in between perspectives from the other side. So, I basically took that book and revamped it and added more information
Oh,
because
cool.
some time had gone by. And I did change the title. I think I should do another book called Soul Rising. But, anyways, okay. You ready? I don't know if you're ready for this one, but it's in my book, Life, Death, and in Between Perspective from the Other Side.
Yeah.
And this was a part in the book I almost didn't put in because I thought it's a little out there, but I know what I experienced. So I was all, I didn't need to tell the world in the book. But so when I got into meditation, it's always been more spiritually minded meditation, the heart, the light energy. Light is frequency, higher frequency. The spirit is the highest frequency expression of consciousness. It's, we need both spirit and self personality. So I was always into the more spiritual aspect of meditation, very comfortable with that, didn't want to make any changes, but I was curious. So I went and took the Silva method for a weekend course. And I took the Silva method on meditation. Like, well, they're just not saying God. I mean, you know what I mean? They're same thing. I felt you learn a little more about the alpha beta waves and all that, which confuses me, but there's science behind that. I can never remember which one you're supposed to be in for a meditative state. I think it's theta, but not I'm a freelancer, And can you when I was a hairdresser, my boss used to say I made him nervous because I look like Edward Scissorhand, because that's me. I'll draw it. You make me learn angles. I'm going to be like, what are you talking about? Because most intuitive people are ADD, just for the record. Yeah, it's not always a bad thing. But so now I take that program. I'm like, okay, I spent 2 days doing this and I really didn't get the answer. But there's something more about meditation that I don't get. And I said, it's like intelligence. I'm learning more about the intelligence, I think. And so I put it out there just like I'm putting it out to you. I was really still confused, but a little bit this higher intelligence. Is that what happens when we meditate? Because one thing I learned when I started getting into daily meditation, and I don't meditate to go get somewhere and learn and get something. I meditate to sit in my heart, to sit in the frequency of pure love. The most powerful source of energy we can access is our heart. Okay, self-love. Another show for that, right? And so I had this little moment where I would thought that. So like a day or two, usually I always say there's a 3-day window when you put something out and nothing going to go take that long. It'll always be within 3 days. You just got to put it out there and stay true to it. So it was, like I said, a day or two gone by and I was meditating. I was in my meditation, breathing, just slowing everything down. And all of a sudden in my inner eye, I start just like when you imagine a vacation. Oh, I can't wait to go. You see the beach or you see the mountain or whatever you go. It's the same thing. So I was seeing these hardwood floors with candelabras lined up. And I felt like I was just being moved down the hallway, right? And I went, oh my God, there's my pappy, my grandfather with the gray hair. And as I get closer to the table where he's down on his desk, which I had never seen my grandfather do, but that's what I was thinking I was seeing. He looks up and it's Einstein. Now here's me. Einstein? I'm in my meditative state. I'm very aware what I'm seeing. And the little voice over here goes, and nobody gonna believe this one, Beth. I'm like, well, don't tell anybody either. I have told the world now. So I was like, he said, you called? And I'm like, I called you? I don't know about that. And he goes, you asked about the intelligence of the highest, the divine. We are all here waiting to be called on. All you have to do is ask. Our information is here for everyone. And I'm looking at him going, I was the type of person, I would read one of his quotes and go, what is he talking about? Like in a magazine or a newspaper. I didn't
Sure.
get it. I'm not that brain. I'm so, whatever, right brain. Is that what it is? See, I don't even know that. Left, right. I'm the intuitive brain. So I'm in this moment. I'm feeling emotional. He's definitely said those words. And I'm like, wow. And he goes, all you have to do is call, believe. He said, believe. And all of a sudden he said, and this is where it gets interesting. If you need proof, he looks at me, he winked and said, I watch over the boy. And that shook me out of the frequency. My frequency kind of went, whoop. Like, what do you mean the boy? I have it. My son's 3. Like, I
Yeah.
have a 3-year-old at this point, right? That little guy that, came out the way my
I
mom said he would. And I'm like, it shook me out of the meditation a little. And I remember laughing and going, like I said, and nobody ever going to believe this one, Beth. And I'm like, you know what? I get it. All of a sudden it made sense. It's a divine intelligence and intellect comes from the sacred, from the sacredness of divine energy. It's not your brain is better than my brain. And all of a sudden the puzzle just went for me. And now I've had an experience with Einstein. The next night, I'm giving my little boy's in the bathtub. He's blowing bubbles, and I'm cleaning the vanity and I'm looking at him in the mirror to be, making sure I'm watching him. And he's blowing bubbles, making the beard, what kids do, right? And he's, Mommy, how did he die? Now, he knew none of his grandparents except one, and she died shortly after we had moved to help her. And I go, who, honey? And he goes, Einstein. I stop. I'm like cleaning the, and I'm like, Einstein. I'm like, calm, Beth, stay calm. I go, well, how do you know who Einstein is? And he goes, he talks to me all the time. I go, well, what's he say? He goes, I don't know. Still playing with bubbles. And I
yeah.
go, wow, I think he's a pretty smart man. And I think someday you will know what he says. And he goes, I think he died because he was old. I go, yeah, I think so, probably. I take him to preschool the next day and I go in there. And this is before baby Einstein, just for the record, all the skeptics out there. And I go, hey, do you guys talk about Einstein in here? She goes, Mrs. Lynch, this is like, I don't even know if it was preschool. He was 3, whatever that is. And I go, I just had to ask. Gets better. I go the next day. I'm at a TJ Maxx having a little retail therapy. My little bugger is in the cart with me. And all of a sudden he goes, Mommy, Albert. And I turn around and there's the poster with Albert Einstein about imagination. And I'm like, this lady goes, smart one you got there. I go, oh God, you don't even want to know. He made me buy that poster.
Oh.
And it hung in his room for years.
Oh
And
wow.
my son is math comes to my son like he's running his career right now is all math. And he is so good in math. And I just had a laugh because I had that experience and there's the science. You're the one that asked. So that's the closest I can get. I don't know if I'm going to get any closer, but
Yeah.
I mean, how do like I said, I didn't need proof I had that experience, but boy, I got it.
That's That's an incredible story.
And everybody that reads the book will say, I love the Einstein story. And when my editor did it, I said, I can't put that in there. That's a little out there. He's like, Beth, really? Everything you say is out there. He goes, but it's true.
Yeah.
And people are searching for higher understanding. We are able to meditate and download information. That's technology. One of the biggest problems, I don't even know if the word is problem. I don't even know what to call it. That, when I asked why about the world, and this is right after 9/11, I
Yeah.
asked, why is the world the way it is? Why are we here again? What is going on with our species? You know what I heard the next day? Washing the dishes, minding my own business, not trying to meditate or do anything. I was just washing the dishes. All of a sudden I get this little emotional feeling, and it's like it's like almost like a haze goes over me. And it's like, whew, and I hear something or I see something. And I heard, you have evolved as a species technically, but not spiritually. And I went, the voice. And they repeated it. And then they said, you have evolved as a species technically and not spiritually. You are now in the consequence of that. It is not a punishment. And I got very emotional. And I remember going, that's what I asked about yesterday. Why are we here? You're answering. I said, well, I'm gonna be honest with you, whoever's talking to me, but that don't make me feel any better. Let's talk to the universe the way you want. And I
Yeah.
heard that is what Earth is for. But I can tell you something. What I call sometimes a crisis of a species, whether we're talking religion, politics, personal wellness, the whole gamut. When you don't understand what your spirit is, what our true spiritual nature is, it is intuitive, which is, yes, a connection to the divine or higher source or power or whatever word you like. It is also a survival mechanism down here, our intuition. It's
Yeah.
not just la la la, okay? But our spiritual nature is intuitive, it is creative. When we're creative, we're expressing ourselves. We're doing things to give back. And yes, we have to create abundance doing that, or we're not going to have a roof over our head unless you win the lotto, and not everybody is winning the lotto, right? So
Right.
we're intuitive, we're creative, we're compassionate, above and beyond human potential. Patience run out, compassion will not. We have great teachers and avatars before us that have taught us those words. We are connected to one another. We care, right?
Yeah.
We have coping skills. The spiritual nature is the coping area, not the personality. The personality wants to fall on the ground, kick and scream, roll in the mud, right? But
Yeah.
your spiritual nature, when your personality is plugged into that nature, it will be intuitive, it will be creative, it will be compassionate, it will feel connected, it will have coping skills. And without it, we don't have that.
I think, even during these times, it's still like, I like that you framed it as a consequence of that. But in just from experience and the people I've been connecting to lately, it feels like it's also been like a big wake up call
Right.
to a lot of folks that were sleeping on it and maybe not pursuing their spiritual side, but it seems to have been a wake up call for some folks as well. So, I think we will find a way through it, hopefully,
We
together.
have to, you know what is interesting, and I love that you said that it was something I heard once in reflection and meditation was tell them to stop the search. It's not a search, it's within. And I thought, okay, I get I have so much reflection. I kind of like just I've always thought deeply, even as a little kid,
Yeah.
so to think that way to me is very natural. And some people say, well, I would never ask, why am I here? And I'm like, I don't know. I remember at 10 years old asking why I was here and not hearing an answer. It's the first sentence in one of my books. I remember looking up and asking God, why am I here? And I didn't get an answer. Well, the separation began. And, and
Yeah.
well, because at 10 years old, when you're looking up at the stars, and then you ask to see a shooting star and it goes by, you start to pay attention. Like I asked and it went by. I mean, I remember running in the house because I was terrified. Like I asked for it and it came by.
Yeah.
What?
So, Beth, I want to do a quick round of questions
Mm-hmm.
that skeptics. It's basically skeptical
Yeah.
questions. So, like things that'll help me and my audience understand, maybe learn or break prejudice about that. First question, and we want to make sure that the answers are just short and simple if we can, to just
Mhm,
simplify
mhm,
these if we can.
mhm.
Obviously, if it calls for a longer answer, I'm okay with that too. So, when you're holding space for multiple people on a call, do you ever get conflicting reactions from the room? Does one person need to be ready to believe and another resisting ever conflict what comes through? Or does that matter at
No,
all?
I find that when you have, so I would say in more of a family oriented group or something where, I can see everybody, not just like helping parents, there could be 200 on a call. You're not seeing everybody. They monitor that. So if you're getting, like, it can tell you something. The spirit will always call out the skeptic immediately, like give them something. And then there's that, oh my God. And everybody will look at them on this, because they get that out of the way. They know how to get that out of the way. And if I could tell a quick story on that, real quick one,
Yeah, yeah, go for it.
that was because I know I remember I was channeling a family that came to me in person, and there were like five of them, and they sat down and they were very no emotion. They weren't telling, they weren't going to say anything. Sat down. I welcomed to my home because I was working on my home then too. And I told them what I was going to do, the blessing, and I would start receiving visions then, and then I'll give them those visions, and then it'll take a life of its own on. I said, just acknowledge what you recognize. I go, you just say, yeah, I understand, because you're going to help them. I'm already receiving it. Doesn't matter. I'm receiving, I'm seeing something. I am not going to try to know what it means because I'll miss half the other things coming in. They said, okay. So, very first thing I saw, very first thing when I closed my eyes and started to do the blessing was an elder man come in with this huge book. And it was almost like the little table in front of me. He went, boom. I saw dust fly off of it. And I heard, there's more to it than this, with this deep voice. And I'm like, oh, this is going to go over well with her. And I could see it had Bible on the cover.
Uh,
And the dust flew. I saw the word Bible. So a couple other things came in. So I said to them, okay, let me tell you the very first thing I saw. There's an elder gentleman, and this is what he did. And when I said what I saw, the woman spoke up and she said, okay, we believe. We told our father that he has to bring the Bible and he has to show us that this is okay. And the
mm,
rest was boom. They knew it was him and all the other things that I saw, the visions, the other family members, because there's never just one person. Your people in spirit love to show you who's with them.
yeah.
I mean, they want to look who's here, but everybody up there that gathers knows the front row. That's easy way to put it.
After hearing thousands of messages from the other side, has your own definition of what happens after we die changed since you started this work, or has it stayed the same?
Oh, it definitely changed. I mean, I was raised Catholic.
Okay.
So, I was kind of taught purgatory first,
Mm,
and then what are my parents going to wait there for me? Like that was scaring me, devastated me. I thought as a kid, they can't wait that long, hopefully I have more time, but yeah, it opened. The walls came down. The boundaries came down.
yeah.
Absolutely.
If a skeptic sat across from you right now and dared you to prove something real, not
Mhm.
vague, what would you actually want to try?
I would just open up and rely on what they send me, you know,
Okay.
like, um, even whether or not yours, I don't feel you're a skeptic, but
No, not at all.
I don't feel that. Usually you can feel a nervousness more from the people. I don't get nervous. I kind of like them, but because I love seeing the transformation. I've heard atheists tell me I was atheist when I walked in here. I believe in something now. I may not know what it is, but I believe, and I've heard that more than once. But, like even just talking with you right now, I feel like I see a gentleman in spirit holding a bird. I don't know why. Do you have someone up there as a bird assigned for you? Your father or grandfather is probably somebody close. I'm getting the letter E. I'm getting those things. E could be a sound in a name. It could be a first letter. It could be someone's initials. I had M&Ms come in the other day and it was the person in spirit's initials. And they actually had a tattoo of M on them because it was their initials. I was like, I can't know all that, but they shared it with me. So it was kind of funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's something I gave you. Like somebody's holding a bird. They want to
Hmm.
say the bird. Almost felt like there's a story, like an injured bird or you helped the bird or something. I don't know. That's yours. You can let me know.
Okay. I'm trying to think. The only bird that story I have is a hummingbird story,
Mhm.
but, I'm trying to think of a gentleman.
And I also was gonna I don't know if your mom's in spirit, but if it's not your mother, it's a grandmother for sure.
Yeah, my
Yeah,
my grandma's in spirit for
yeah,
sure.
yeah, and, she's got something with her teeth because she's smiling. Yeah, she's chatting. She's saying, "Teeth, say teeth."
Smile.
She have
She
five.
used to always tell me to smile and be positive.
That's why she say, "Smile, teeth, simple." You know, these are little things that are happening, so I love that she did give me to give you that. And the hummingbird story, I don't know if she knows that, but whoever would be connected the closest to the hummingbird story or watch over you would be the one saying, "Show him this, show him the bird," you know? Yeah.
Mm. I think I know who it is now. Probably my fiance's grandpa, who I had a good relationship with,
Okay.
and the hummingbird. And actually, their family are tied to crows as well.
Oh,
So
lots of bird energy going on here. Yeah.
yeah, so
Yeah.
there's a few bird stuff connected to that.
And the
And
letter R too.
my aunt Rose was, yeah,
Yeah.
she's
Yeah. See,
um,
that's how it starts. It's kind of like little simple things. And then, like I said, if you sit with me for an hour, you get a lot more, they get a little deeper. But, little things like that, like
yeah,
that little boy with the hand. I mean, how do you even
yeah,
be skeptic when you go through something like that? And I've gone through so many stories, so many stories with people that, like, some of them are in my book, of course, but I got so many. Oh, my.
yeah. The hummingbird one, or the hummingbird for me, is actually a very specific symbol of like everything's going to be okay, and faith to trust myself and my path and everything, to leave things in God's hands essentially.
Mhm, and there you go, that's why, like, show him this, show him the bird, because that's how they tell you that,
Yeah.
they can't. I always say there's so many little words. When you give someone a vision and a feeling and the emotion, and you probably noticed I slowed down as I started to get that, because when I'm channeling, I can get things fast. I can get, like, 10 visions, I get 8 out. The 2 I missed, they're gonna bring back before the end of the session anyway, so I never worry about forgetting. But
Yeah.
and I'm very comfortable in the way I channel, so that makes it easier on them. Like, they know I'm not trying to figure it out. Because when you see a picture, there's a story behind it. Their emotions are forming these pictures. They are thinking, feeling energy. We look
Mm,
like holograms. That's how I put that together about myself. We look like holograms up there. That's what we look like. Up there, that's dense.
yeah, yeah.
That's pretty cool.
That
Okay.
was pretty cool. Thank you
Question
for
number
that.
4. I don't know what number it is, but
No, it's okay. So, we actually, the last part, this is getting towards the end now. I used to be a rapper. I used to make music, and I used to love freestyle rapping. And so one of the things that I start doing on my podcast now is a freestyle. Doesn't necessarily mean you have to start rapping, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually draw a word, okay, from a card, out of these different feelings or emotions that people go through. And whatever word it is, I just want you to freestyle whatever comes out of you, like a message that you want to give to everyone that's tied to that word.
okay.
Okay.
Mhm.
It doesn't have to rhyme. You don't have to rap or anything. Although in edit, I
Never
probably
know
will.
what's gonna come out. I don't know either.
In edit, I'll probably throw in a beat or something as well,
Okay.
just to make it fun. But anyway, okay. So the card that I drew is identity and self. And, whatever comes to mind about what part of yourself have you had to fully claim? And we're talking about identity specifically.
Identify the spirit. Know thyself. Identify the spirit. Free your soul.
That's beautiful.
Thank you. Felt nice to say it. I thought I was gonna be a little funny, but it got deep.
I was like, is she gonna rhyme? And then you did take a left turn, and I was like, oh wow, that actually hit me.
Mhm.
So thank you for
Music's
that.
the soul. Music's the soul. Rapping, whatever. Did you see my Amy Winehouse video on my YouTube?
I'm gonna have to now.
Oh, you wanna watch that one.
I definitely will. Beth, it's been such a pleasure to have you on the show. Where can people find you? Can we hire you? Where can we
Hire me.
talk? Well, I mean, if someone's interested in mediumship, or actually, you know what? That's a good point. Maybe before you answer where to find you, how does one even get into this? How does one get into mediumship? Is it something that anybody can just do, or is this really something like you either got the gift or you don't.
No, and I tell people always, it is such a natural expression of who we are. I taught somebody today for 4 hours how to understand their relationship. Mediumship is mediating between what is spirit and what is physical. Mediumship is mediating between the higher vibration and the lower vibrations, which are the earth vibrations. And so we all are mediating in our thought process all the time. And when you learn, when you're in mediumship, you have to be able to, I think, discern the difference. Like when you get a feeling, everybody has it. We all are intuitive beings. We're all spiritual beings, whatever way you look at it. So we all have the ability. I think the misunderstanding of it is that missing link, which is I'm very passionate about. I like people to feel when they come to me that they didn't need me at the end. I made them that comfortable in the communication with their loved one. So we all have it. And you have to, meditation, but meditation for self devotion first and to connect to the higher vibration or your spiritual self, your spirit, so your self can have that best friendship. That's a
Mm.
friendship. And all friendships and relationships are going to be based on that commitment or connection you have with your spiritual nature and your human nature. We are one.
Thank you for that, Beth. And where can people find you online? Is there do you have any links you want to share? Any
Oh,
social
yeah.
media?
And my website, inner light teaching.com, is got everything on there. I have YouTube channel, so subscribe. I have meditations and a lot of lectures on there and talks, and I need to do more on YouTube. And I'm on TikTok. I'm on them all, but on my website you'll see the link tree and you can find me through that. And I have courses and I teach remotely, and I do everything I do in person I can do remotely. Energy doesn't know time or space, so. And I record a lot of things I always record your sessions. So you'll always have that to fall back on.
Really cool. Thank you, Beth, for being present in the
Well,
conversation. Thank you for
thank you.
being here. And everybody out there, once again, thanks for being as well. Remember, don't lose faith, lose fear, peace, and let your heart be light. We'll see you next time.
Amen. Thank you. I love that.